this first and foremost for ourselves. The second thing we need to know is that forgiveness is not the same thing as pardoning. Now, a lot of us, when we think about forgiveness, we think about the Abrahamic definition of forgiveness, which is like pardoning, right? If you do something to me, I'm going to release you of the consequences of your decision. That's not what forgiveness is. We can definitely exercise consequence, we can exercise fairness, we can exercise justice while ridding ourselves of the toxicity and hate that binds us from living our best life. So when someone hurts us, we're not going to say, okay, you're forgiven. Like, I'm going to forget about this. You did nothing wrong. I'm letting this go. I'm forgetting about it. You have no consequences. No, we can exercise justice and exercise and demonstrate consequences of someone's actions without harboring hate and resentment towards that person. So forgiveness is releasing that right to hate and releasing that right to revenge. Why is this so difficult for so many of us? Well, because it goes against our nature, right? When somebody hurts us, what do we want to do? When someone hurts us, we want to hurt them back, right? It seems right. It seems just. It seems fair. And it's a very natural reaction. So forgiveness actually goes against our own nature in a lot of ways. For when someone hurts us, like someone comes up and punches you in the face, right? We want to hit them back. You say, well, you're going to hurt me. I'm going to hurt you back. And if we're not the ones that hurt them back, we want to see them get hurt. Right? So even if I'm not the one taking revenge against you, I may be harboring that hatred and toxicity in my heart, saying, I hope that you get hurt in the same way that I get hurt. All right? It seems fair. I'm gonna Bouncer, please be cognizant of what's going on in the stream. Thank you. Even if someone hurts me, I want to see them hurt the same way, right? And because of that, it goes against our nature. But even though it goes against our nature, when someone hurts us, forgiving them and releasing that right to hate and releasing that right to revenge is what keeps us, is actually what enables us to live our healthiest life. Think about it this way. If someone hurts you, right, and they're living off they're not really impacted on a day-to-day basis by your hatred. They're not being impacted on a day-to-day basis by the hostility that you're holding down and you're holding on to in your heart. The person who's being hurt by that on a day-to-day basis is you. That person's off living their life. They're doing it, whatever it is that they do. They're not thinking about how they hurt you. They're not thinking about how they did you wrong. The person who's being weighed down by that is you. And so while unforgiveness gives us this sense of toughness, it gives us this sense of power because we're holding on and we're not letting go and we're preserving some sort of, we feel, defense for ourselves. What we're really doing is hurting ourselves and hurting the people in our lives. And I'll explain why. When you're harboring on to all this hatred, all this hostility, all this anger because of what somebody did to you, that is going to come out, whether you like it or not, in the people that you interact with on a day-to-day basis. The people that you're closest to, your friends, your family, your coworkers, your parents, your spouse, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your kids. Because hurt people, we all know that hurt people hurt people. We've all heard that before. So if we're going to hold on to that animosity because of what somebody did to us, what's going to end up happening is we're going to either directly or indirectly taking that out on the people in our lives. So while it gives us a sense of power to hold on to unforgiveness, we're actually giving that person more power, because not only now are they are our lives being affected because of this pain that we're refusing to let go to, this hatred that we're refusing to let go of. Now we're letting that affect the people in our lives. We're letting that affect the people in our lives. Jay, thank you. So why would you want to give anybody who hurts you more power than they deserve? Why would you want to let them have any power over you? And why would you want them to have any power over the people in your life? It doesn't make sense. Letting go of that by releasing that right to hate, releasing that right to take revenge is the only thing that can give you peace, and that's the only thing that's going to actually enable you to live your strongest life. The best revenge that you can take against somebody that hurt you is to show them that what they did is not going to have any power over you. I'm going to say that again. The best revenge you can take against somebody is showing them that what they did has no power over you. What you did is not going to prevent me from living my best life. What you did is not going to plague me down with hatred. What you did is not going to play me down with mental weights, mental energy. I'm not going to let my life be affected by that. That is the best revenge you can take. But failing to forgive is plaguing ourselves. It adds undue necessary mental energy on us, undue animosity, undue toxicity, which unfortunately, whether you like to admit it or not, is going to come out in the people that you care about. Don't give that person who hurt you any more power over you. Now, we're not saying that they get off scot-free, right? We're not pardoning them. That's a big difference between excusing or pardoning somebody and forgiving them. Pardoning is saying, hey, whatever you did, you're free to go. I'm releasing all of that. Forgiveness is saying, I'm not letting go of the consequences, but I'm letting go of that animosity that's burdening me down. I'm not going to be burdened down by what you did to me. So we can hold somebody responsible for the consequences of their actions without wishing hatred on them, without wishing bad things on them, and without harboring those toxic feelings that are ultimately just going to bring us down. Because what is that second part in the definition of forgiveness? The second part in that definition of forgiveness is releasing ourselves from the chains of victimhood. Forgiveness goes synonymous with another F word. Forgiveness goes hand in hand with another F word. No, not that one. Synonymous with freedom. Forgiveness equals freedom. Now, why is that word right in the definition? We're releasing the right to hate. We're releasing the right to revenge. Because how many of you are out there and saying, okay, More, I hear what you're saying, and somebody's hurt me before, and I never took revenge against them, and I didn't hate them on an active level. But in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, but if I wanted to take revenge, they deserve it. Has anybody else felt that way sometimes? Like, I'm not taking revenge, but if I wanted to, they deserve it. The problem with that is you're still allowing that pain, you're still allowing that hurt to occupy mental energy in your mind, in your heart, and in your spirit rent-free. Don't give them that power. So now we have that static definition of forgiveness nailed down. So what does that look like in the dynamic aspect? Now that we have that concrete definition, well, the dynamic aspects of forgiveness are going to depend from person to person and situation to situation. You're going to forgive someone a lot differently who maybe makes, like I said earlier, makes a snide remark to you at work, as opposed to somebody who cheats on you in a relationship. And the consequences to those hurts are going to depending on that person, depending on that situation. So if someone makes a remark to you at work, it may mean just letting it go or having a conversation with that person. If someone cheats on you, it could mean the end of that relationship. Just because I'm forgiving you doesn't mean I'm letting go of what you did to me and letting you get off scot-free. How many of us out there know that sometimes you have to let people go in your life because that's what's healthiest for you? Again, forgiveness is all about what's healthiest for us. In some ways, it can be argued that it's a selfish act. Now, it's not, because it does benefit society at large. That's what forgiveness culture is all about. But forgiveness is about us living our healthiest life. And sometimes it may mean letting someone go if they're not serving a purpose in our life. Not always. We don't want to just cut out every single person in our life who hurts us. I would advocate to make that effort and give that person the chance, because we all deserve grace. We all deserve second chances. We all deserve to be treated the way we wish to be treated. But sometimes letting someone go is the right situation. Just because I want to see you eat doesn't mean I want you at my dinner table. Y'all ever, we've talked about that. We repeat that slogan every week. Just because I want you to eat doesn't mean I want you at my dinner table. And just because I don't want you at my dinner table doesn't mean I don't want you to eat. Sometimes the best thing you can do is part ways with a person and say, hey, you know what? I wish you well. You hurt me. This is not something that I can get over. I forgive you, I wish you well, but you're not going to be part of my life anymore. You're not going to be part of my journey. Sometimes people come in your life and they're not going to be permanent parts of your journey, and that's okay. So it is a perfectly okay to let someone go. No, Brandy, that is not forgiveness culture. Let's refrain from those kind of comments, please. So when we forgive, it's basically the first and foremost function of that is for ourselves. And when that looks, what that looks like in a dynamic aspect, it could mean on the extreme side of the example, right? If someone commits a crime against us, we're not just to forgive them and say, okay, you're good to go, you're free. We still want them to face justice for what they did, but we can do that with a pure heart. And that's what forgiveness is all about. Guys, this is forgiveness culture. Every week we talk about the hope and peace that can be found in forgiveness. We just went over our static and dynamic definitions of forgiveness. And coming up, we're going to go over our forgiveness challenge. And this week's forgiveness challenge is how to exercise forgiveness culture in the middle of meet me drama. All right. Now, this may be a little bit of a controversial topic, but it's one I think that we could all benefit from listening from. All right. After that, we're going to get into our forgiveness example that comes from a celebrity story. And then in about 10 minutes, we're going to have our very esteemed guest, Role Model Fresh. I know a lot of people in the house really excited to see Role. So y'all stay tuned. She'll be coming up in about 10 minutes, and she's got a forgiveness story. She's our featured guest here tonight. And again, a great streamer here on the app, one of the biggest names out there. And she's a big name for a reason, guy. All right. So every week we have what's called a forgiveness challenge. And that's when we talk about an aspect of forgiveness that may make it a little challenging, may make it an obstacle. And I really thought about this week's forgiveness challenge, and I really wanted to talk a little bit about meet me drama or streaming drama or social media drama in general. How do we exercise forgiveness culture in the middle of that? So I'm going to give you guys 4 pieces of advice from myself as someone who's had to navigate this from the last 2.5 years. And you can write them down, you can jog them in your memory, but I think this will help us exercise forgiveness culture on the app, on social media in general. First of all, if there is a situation between you and another person, someone hurt you, there's some drama, first piece of advice, don't air this on live. Okay? Don't air this on live. That is not the time to do that. You guys got to remember that we are broadcasting. We are broadcasting here. We are basically publishing video content. And even though it may not be cataloged or archived, right? Even though it may not be cataloged or archived, there are people out there who can screen record. There are people out there who can screenshot. Anything you say or do on your live stream can be immortalized for the world to see. And time will a lot of times rectify a lot of these issues that we have with people on stream. So if you go on live and you start talking about it and trashing this person, especially someone's there who's not there to defend themselves or tell their side of the story, what you're going to do is immortalize that toxicity for a long, long time. And not only are you not going to make that matters better with whoever that is, whether it's able to be better or not, it depends on the situation. But if you decide to immortalize that, you are going to further complicate that toxicity, further complicate those issues with that other person. So the first thing I'm going to tell you, how can we exercise forgiveness culture in the middle of social media, in the middle of live content? Don't air that kind of content on live if at all possible. People are out there with screenshots, people out there with screen recordings, and something you may say in the heat of the moment can come back to bite you a month, 2 months, 6 months, even a year later. And long after that issue may be dead and gone and dealt with, that can still be cataloged for all of history. The same thing is, the second piece of advice is keep in mind that unlike someone who may be in our personal life or a friend or something off the app, a lot of these people that we have issues with on Mimi, they're still on the same platform with us. So my second piece of advice is do your own thing. All right. If there's someone who has an issue with you or that you have an issue with this, do your own thing. Unfortunately, guys, there's a lot of times we can't help but the fact that these people are on the same platform as us. So it's not like we can just We can block them. We can remove them from coming into our streams and vice versa, but we can't remove them from the app just because we don't like them or we have an issue with them. So I would say, if the second piece of advice I can give you is do your own thing and just like do not address that kind of stuff on live. If it's something that needs to be addressed, do it in the DMs or one-on-one. Third thing you can do is exercise the kind of grace that you would want if you ever made a mistake. Guys, we all know none of us are perfect. None of us are flawless. We all make mistakes, and we all do things and say things that we really wish sometimes we hadn't have done. So you need to put yourself in a situation where you're like, well, how would I want this to be addressed if I was on the other side of this? And try to exercise the same kind of grace towards that person that you would want for yourself if you had made a mistake. And I'm not saying you're taking their side. I'm not saying that you're just gonna like, hey, they're good. What they did is I'm gonna forget about it. But put yourself in the other person's position for a minute and say, if I had done this to someone else, what kind of grace would I like? And maybe consider exercising that same. The fourth and final piece of advice, and we give this very frequently when we're talking about our forgiveness challenges, is try your best to live enemy free. Okay, guys, there's you got to keep in mind, when you have enemies, and this person is someone I hate, this person is someone who's against me, a lot of people that you vibe with, right? If they are vibing with that other person, you're going to put them in a very compromising position. So if I'm fighting with John, and John and I have multiple friends, and I'm going on here trash talking John, talking badly about him, well, that person who supports both of us is going to be a very awkward position. And you don't know who's supporting John. You don't know who's supporting that other person. And a lot of times as streamers, especially as us who are trying to grow on the app, it's all about growing that audience. If we want our audience to grow and you're sitting here trash talking a streamer who has a following, you're going to alienate yourself from ever connecting with any of those people. So even if you don't connect with any of John's supporters or John's viewers, you're dang sure going to put yourself in a position where you're definitely not going to, because if you're sitting here trash talking John, those people aren't going to come around with you. And if there are people who support both of you, you're putting them in a very awkward and uncomfortable position. So our fourth piece of advice for demonstrating forgiveness culture on stream: don't air dirty laundry on live. Don't attack people on live. We're there to defend yourself. Recognize that you're on the same platform. Do your own thing. Demonstrate the kind of grace that you would like if you had made that same mistake, and try your best to live enemy free. This is Forgiveness Culture, guys. Every week we talk about the hope and peace that can be found in forgiveness. In just a few minutes, we're going to have our very special guest tell a story about time when she had to forgive someone, and I'm really excited about that. Before we do that, we always like to give a forgiveness example from either the news or popular culture or the Forgiveness Project book, which is the inspiration for the show. This week's forgiveness example comes from a celebrity. He's an NBC news anchor. His name is Craig Melvin. Now, Craig Melvin is a host of the Today Show on NBC, and he talked about recently having to forgive his father. His father was not involved in his life at all, or not very much, because he had very strong addictions. He did not have a strong relationship with his father, and he decided basically to just kind of let that non-relationship continue even after he had his own kids. It wasn't, he was telling us in this article that he wrote, it wasn't after he he saw his own kids growing up and realized that he was trying to be different from his father and set an example for his kids, that he realized that he wanted to set a different tone. So he reached out to his father. He said, I'll never have probably the relationship with my father that I want, but I want my kids. I think we all want what's best for our kids, right? Sometimes we're better at exercising what's better for our kids, even better than exercising what's best for ourselves, because of the unconditional love that we have for his kids. So only after he had kids and he realized how much he wanted to them to grow up in a loving atmosphere with a good father. He reached out to his father, reconciled with his father, and although he said, I'll never have the relationship with my father that I want my kids to know that holding on to hatred, holding on to animosity, and holding on to anger is not the kind of life I want my kids to live. I am kind of in a rush because I do want to get to our guest. So if you do want to read more about that article, I highly encourage you to do it. I very, very much truncated it. The name of the guy, his name is Craig Melvin. Just Google Craig Melvin Forgiveness. It's an amazing story. And I was blessed by it, and I'm sure you would be as well. Just join us. This is Forgiveness Culture, where every week we have guests on the show. Craig Melvin, Melvin. We have guests who talk about forgiveness, and we hope that this show can open the door for you exploring the impact and the peace that you can find and the mental wellness and healing that you can find through forgiveness. Our guest this week, guys, needs no introduction, but I'm going to give her one anyways. She's an amazing content creator, boss badge, top badge, all the good badges put together. She's amazing. She hosts a featured show here on the app as well. She's an amazing influencer. Y'all please welcome, well, whenever she's ready, whenever you're ready, welcome Role Model Fresh. I was like, the box, oh, she's not there. Y'all welcome Role Model Fresh, guys, Role Model Fresh. I'm gonna allow her to introduce herself when she gets in the box for any of y'all who don't know her, but I'm guessing that most of you guys probably do know her. So Role, whenever you're ready, you can request that box. Guys, by the way, while we're waiting, if you have a story that you would like to share on Forgiveness Culture, again, you're about to hear Role's story. Reach out to me on Instagram, okay? Please make sure y'all hit that star with the circle next to my name. That's the favorite button. Click on my bio. My Instagram link is in my bio. And if you have a story that you think would be beneficial to our audience towards the topic of forgiveness, please reach out to me on Instagram. Role, I don't know if you're still here, but whenever you're ready, you can request that box. We do have, I am not planning on ending this show. You're in. Request it again, because I don't see you in the box. Request. Okay, here we go. Y'all please welcome the one and only Role Model Fresh. What's up, Role? How you doing? We got you in. Role, you need no introduction for sure, but for those who out there, I don't know, maybe they're new, maybe they've been on the app for 5 minutes. Please introduce yourself and what you do here.
What's up, everybody? My name is Role Model Fresh. I am #1 on Plenty of Fish. Okay. And what I do here, I mean, I'm a content creator. I do exactly what this man does right here. Okay.
He does it way better.
As good as him.
So I appreciate you coming on this show. Guys, make sure y'all favorite her because she's got a featured show tomorrow. In my opinion, the best featured show on the whole app. And who knows, I might just stop on by. But tonight we're talking about forgiveness. Now, who is your forgiveness story about?
Well, I have so many, but the one I would prefer to talk about would be my dad.
Okay. So walk us through that a little bit. What happened with your dad that had to lead you onto a forgiveness journey?
So should I start at the beginning?
Start at the beginning. That's usually where we start.
All right. So guys, let me tell you a little bit of my story. You know, I grew up with just my dad. My mom wasn't around. You know, I was actually taken from my mom as a child, and I was put into the system. And my dad fought really hard to get me back. You know, my dad was a model, like one of a model dad, you know, because during that time, it wasn't much dads who had custody of their kids. And honestly, he was the only father who had custody of all 4 of his kids. You know, so a lot of people, you know, like loved him for that and admired him for that. And honestly, I did too. As a kid, I did too. You know, but also as a kid, I knew I was just different from everybody. You know what I'm saying? And when I say different, meaning it's like I didn't like to play with girl toys. I didn't like to wear girl clothing and stuff like that. I was a tomboy, you know. And then growing up with 4 brothers, you know, I had it was rough. Okay, because a lot of games they felt like I shouldn't play and stuff like that because I was a girl, which also motivated me to be better at whatever game it was that I was playing.
Right.
Okay, so this is part of the reason why till this day I am so competitive when it comes to any game. I don't care if it's Scrabble,
I
if
see
it's
that.
Spade, if it's the verses on this app. I am
I
very
see it. I see
competitive.
it.
Okay, because I had it rough and I had to be a winner. I had no choice but to be
Right.
a winner. Okay, and my father, he we wasn't very wealthy. He was kind of poor. He drove cab all his life and stuff like that. But even with the little bit that he had, he made sure like he tried to do for all of us, and he never showed like favoritism or anything. He treated me just like one of the boys. I wish he did
Right.
treat me like a
Right.
little more special, but he didn't. He treated me like one of the boys. Okay, so that's just a little bit of my backstory. I'm gonna fast forward it to me turning, like to about when I was 17. Of course, when I was 13, that's when I found out. When I figured out what I was, I figured out I was gay. Okay, but I've never voiced it to any of my parents and stuff before. I've never even voiced it to my friends. I just knew I liked girls, and that was something I always kept to myself and stuff like that. So I kept it to myself, and as I got older, it kind of ate me alive in a sense. So when I got to high school, I slowly started to come out to like certain friends and stuff like that. And by the time I was 16, I was out to everyone but my parents. Okay. And when I turned 17, now, I grew up it was the dynamics of the household changed. My older brother went away to the military, and my dad decided he wanted to move us in with his girlfriend to save money. Now, my dad was a bit of a hoe. Okay, when I say he was a hoe, he had a girlfriend for everything. Okay, he had a girlfriend that was there to do my hair. He had a girlfriend that could cook good. He had a girlfriend that had good, he had a girlfriend for the money. He had a girlfriend that was buying him cars and stuff. He spent his whole life just using women and manipulating women. And
Wow.
that was something even as a child that I seen that I said I don't want to do. Like I was like, I would look at how beautiful these women were, and I'd be like, dang, if I had you, I would never do that to you. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And that was my mindset as a child. So those were one of the things that he wound up doing was he moved us in with one of his girlfriends, and that girlfriend happened to be someone who was my first grade teacher.
Oh.
Okay, it was my older brother's first grade teacher, my first grade teacher. When he became my brother that's under me teacher, my brother was a problem child, so he had to go up to the school a lot, and they wound up hitting it off. Okay, the problem is, it's one thing. Now we didn't want to move in with anyone because we didn't want anyone feeling like they was our mother, and,
Right.
and that was our mindset as a kid.
Right.
And when it came down to him, it was more so of a F you guys, we're gonna do this because it will allow me to save money. Okay. And that was his only mindset towards it. And we knew she experienced like some loss, and we knew we seen a change in her that we didn't want to experience living with her. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? She was one of those that couldn't cook. It was, but he used her
Yeah,
for,
especially when you get used to a certain vibe for so long, and then all of a sudden, when someone comes else in and just going to completely throw off that vibe, I can completely
exactly.
understand you.
Exactly. So, as far as us moving in, we knew there was something that was a bit off about her. But my father, of course, didn't tell us anything. It was like, at this time I'm like 14, just turning 14 and stuff. And the reason why we found out what was wrong was one day we got up, my brothers and I, we were eating cereal. Okay, I tell the story all the time on my stream. We was eating cereal, guys. It was a regular day, got up early. We all poured us some cereal. We're having a good time eating. And she gets up. She had a habit of smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee. And she gets up and she see us eating cereal. And she blurts out, she slams her coffee cup on the floor, drops a cigarette on the floor. And she said, "That's it. I'm done. I had enough." And when she said that, I quickly looked at my brother. I said, "What did you do wrong?" And he was like, "I didn't do anything." So I was like, "You had to do something." So she calls the cops on us. She calls the cops. She calls my father. She said, "Come get these kids. They're crazy." And now I'm all nervous because I'm like, dang, she done called the cops on us. What did we do? And the cops came at the same time my father came. the cops tackled my father down to the ground, and I just start crying because I'm like, they about to kill my dad, you know. And when I seen that happen, she's like, no, not him, get off of him. That's my husband. Although they wasn't married, but she said that's my
Yeah.
husband. And they got off of him. They ran inside the house, and and he's like, what's wrong? She was like, look at them. They're eating with spoons. So she called the cops on us because we was eating with spoons, guys.
Wait, how are you? How else are you supposed to eat cereal?
Listen, my father said, well, they're eating cereal. She was like, but yesterday they had spoons as well. My father said, but they had soup. So, and then it's like it was that moment of, oh my God, what did my father get us into? You know, and my father had to sit us down when the cops left and everything. He had to sit us down. And that's when the very first time I ever heard these words. And he said she has a mental health issue and she's diagnosed with
I was
schizophrenia.
mm,
Okay. When I heard she was diagnosed with schizophrenia at that age, I had no idea what schizophrenia was. I
right.
just know when I read up on it, it made me even more nervous, but it also made me feel bad for her too at the same time. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it kind of made it worse because it's like, dang, here goes this poor woman that got schizophrenia. Now, she didn't always have it. You know, her mother passed away, which drove her to depression. And then, of course, she was then later on diagnosed with schizophrenia. She was someone that I loved and respected, but at the same time, I knew like, she was something was wrong with her.
Yeah.
And it built my father into this habit of him never being there. So because he didn't want to be with her, you left your kids with someone you didn't even want to be with. Okay, which then turned into resentment because it's like, okay, you're never home, but you expect us to be home. You're not even bringing food home. You know she can't cook. You know what I'm saying? So it was like so much like the dynamics changed. The things that we used to do, we didn't do no more. He didn't take us out anymore. Like we would go to the park. It wouldn't be anything that he did that cost money. It was the things that he did that didn't cost money that we loved, his time. You know what I'm
Right.
saying?
Yeah, for
And
sure.
he stopped giving us that, because and then when he did come home, it was the same routine over and over. He would come in, throw his keys down, throw his phone down on charge, go in the back, and then you'll hear F you this, F you that, and then he'll leave, slam the door, he'll walk out the door, and we'll give another countdown because he would come back in 5 seconds because he forgot his keys and his keys and his phone. And that was a daily routine. So one of the things I did as a child, being 14, was I lied about my age and I wanted to get out that house. So you
Right.
know what I did? Got me a job at McDonald's. Okay. So I lied about my age, got me my first job at McDonald's, and I was balancing school along with, working at McDonald's and stuff like that. At that age and being on a basketball team, you know what I'm saying? So you had to keep your grades up. And I did that until my senior year where I started falling off because it's like it just being in that house just became a lot more difficult. And then it was also struggling with my sexuality and stuff like that. Like to come out to everyone and tell everyone that,
That's a
hey,
lot.
I'm just
That's
gay.
a
You know
lot.
what I'm saying?
That's a
So
lot.
it was definitely a lot on me. And to the point where I wound up kind of like dropping, I did drop out my senior year. Like I did my senior year, but I also wasn't really doing it. And I took the GED exam.
Mm,
Okay. So that was something I did do in the midst of that. I wound up telling my brothers that I was gay. And one of my brothers that, that him and I even till this day are not close and stuff like that because he's like a knucklehead. Um, is he wound up snitching on me and telling my father's girlfriend that I was a lesbian.
Lord.
So upon him doing that, when he did that, during that time when he did that, I did have my girlfriend over at the time. Which, when I would have company, they would just think it's just friends and
Right.
they
Yeah.
wouldn't even care. It's just, oh, she's in there with a friend, it's her homegirl and stuff. But when she found that out, it was like 2:30 in the morning, she tried to kick my friend out. And I
Wow.
was like, that's not happening. And it was July 1st, 6 o'clock in the morning. Okay, when I went to the gay parade, okay, and I was coming back home and I tried to put the key in the door and my key wasn't working.
Uh-uh.
So when my key didn't work, I'm like, wait, what's going on? Like, I was a little saucy. So I tried again to put the key in the door. I'm 17 at this time, y'all. And I tried again, it still wasn't working. So, and then I rung the doorbell. And when I rung the doorbell, she then came to the door. And when she came to the door, my father was standing there too. And she said, "You're no longer welcome here." And she was like, "Because we are trying to be a family. You don't fit the family criteria."
Wow. I can't even imagine how that.
So now here I am. I'm like, I'm your only daughter. I'm your only, you know what I'm saying? And he sat there and I watched like tears fall out of his eyes.
And
Watch, he said this to me.
and this is
He
someone
didn't
who you
stop
said,
her.
and this is someone who you said when you were younger that you really looked up to as like, like the
Yeah.
model
My
father. And
dad
then,
allowed her to kick me out.
wow.
You
I,
know what I'm saying? He had all say so's over that and stuff, but he allowed her to kick me out.
wow.
And the type of person he is, I come from a Haitian background, and with that, the Haitian men are very prideful. They're very secretive. If they were hungry, they wouldn't even tell you they was hungry. You know what I'm saying? And that was the type of background I came from. So even if I was hungry or if I needed help, I would not tell a soul that I needed help. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Because I watched my father take care of everything by himself. Although I'm the type of person that will help anybody, I did ask one person. I asked my aunt, because she was someone I looked up to and stuff like that. And when she turned me down, that I was like, oh, I'm not asking anybody else. I had a fear of the word no. I once had a fear of the word no. Okay. And it stemmed from that moment. And because, my father didn't have it. So I was told no every time I asked for something. Can I get a pair of Jordans? No. Can I get this? No. You know what I'm saying? And so with that, I slept on for about 2 to 3 months. I literally slept on the train, riding it back and forth. And sometimes I was able to go like to a friend's house and, wash up and change and stuff like that. But no one ever knew like what was wrong with me.
Wow.
No one ever knew that I was out. And then I had a friend that realized I was wearing like kind of repeating the same sneakers, which is something I never did. You know what I'm saying? Because I always kept the job. I still had a job, but it made it quite difficult for me to get to work. So I wound up losing that job. You know what I'm saying? Which caused
You were
me.
17, right?
I was 17.
So you're still technically just a kid.
17. Yeah, I was definitely a kid.
I mean, okay, so I gotta imagine. I'm just trying to put myself in your shoes for a second. I gotta imagine feelings of betrayal, feelings of, I mean, I'd be angry. I'd feel lost. What was your next step at that point?
My next step in my mind was to just like, and there's different type of people, right? I always say this: there's those people that go through things and become a product of their environment and stuff like that, and then those people that really think and say, hey, I want to be better than that. And one of the things I chose to do was be better than him. Okay, I told myself I would never do that, to anybody. You know what I'm saying? And I knew my father didn't have no high school diploma, no GED. And it's bad enough I didn't even grow up with my mom. So it was already that betrayal from my mom and stuff like that. She put her business over everything. She did importing and exporting, which I could understand because it causes her to be overseas a lot and stuff with the job she was doing. She was like a big kingpin. You know what I'm saying? So my father didn't want us nowhere around her. You know what I'm saying? So when it came to that, what one of the things I did was I told myself I'm gonna go back to school. And I started going back to school. One of the friends from school allowed me to come stay with her, and I never wanted to see my father again. And my mind frame was set up to like I'll never speak to this man again because I don't respect him after that. And then even when I tried, like I did definitely try to forgive again and stuff like that. And and what happened was he had came down. Oh, he moved, by the way. So when they kicked me out, he later on then moved and left her.
Wow.
Okay, he moved down to Florida. So he had no thoughts in caring for myself and my younger brother. Okay, he left us. He just abandoned us and he moved in with my two younger brothers' mother and stuff like that and started being a father to them, but not us.
Wow.
So that was a part that like kind of really hurt me too and
Yeah,
stuff. And
for
then one
sure.
day he came out here to visit. Now during this time when he came out here to visit, he called me and he asked me where was I at. And I told him where I was living at. I said, I'm living in the back of a garage because I was then kicked out a second time. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me back up a little bit. I went a year without speaking to my dad. okay, because I was kicked out. I was living with a friend. My friend wanted to move to Arizona and stuff like that. And my stepmom convinced me to stay and finish school. She was like, you could come live here. She kind of bribed me a little bit, sent me some money, and then she like was buying me sneakers. And she was like, hey, you work in a security job and stuff like that. Stop working that job, go to school and stuff like that. And what I realized when I got there was, and she told me she was no longer speaking to my dad. This is before they moved. Okay. When she told me that, I was like, you know what? Let me give this a chance. Okay. And I moved in with my stepmom. And here by that time I'm 18 years old and stuff like that. So when I moved in with her, she's like, you don't have to, you just go to school and then finish. And then not even a week later, my dad was at the house and I was walking by. She didn't know I was there, but she said something that let me know that she didn't do this for me. She said, "Ha, look what I did for you. I got you to see your daughter again." So it let me know, it kind of let me know that you did all of this, bribing and stuff like that, just so my dad could see me, which is something I wasn't happy about. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So you didn't really care, for me and stuff. You cared to get him back because you wanted, you know what I'm saying?
It's like you were a pawn in her game.
Exactly. So that kind of really bothered me, you know what I'm saying? And I still, and then after that, when he showed that he didn't care and he was still leaving and going to all his girlfriend's house, she then became a little stricter on purpose. So she was like, "Oh, you got a curfew. Your curfew's 9 o'clock. If you're late one time, then I'm kicking you out." And I literally, maybe a week and a half later, I came in the house and it was 9:05. She told my two younger brothers not to let me in the house.
It's like you're on probation or something. Dang.
Yeah. So he literally like so she my mom, my stepmoms wound up kicking me out too. And I started, my father had a garage in the back of the house and stuff like that. It was like an abandoned garage, but it was his. And that was the only place where I was able to go. So I wound up sleeping in that garage. I did stay at a friend's house, but I wound up leaving that friend's house too because it was a little crazy. That's a whole nother story, guys. But I wound up sleeping in the garage, and I met a girl that I was talking to during the time, and she would literally, and I'm telling you, it was wintertime, guys, and I'm sleeping in this garage, y'all. And the girl would literally come like every now and then, like when she knew it was really cold, she would send me a cab to take me to her house, and I would sneak in her house and sleep and stuff like that. Or she would come and sleep with me in the garage and stuff. And even when I thought I was able to forgive him, one day he came to visit. Okay. And my father, he was like, "Hey, where are you?" And I told him I'm in the garage. So he came, picked me up from the garage, and he asked me if I wanted something. So I said, "Yeah, I want a sandwich." And he was like, "Yo, where are you living at?" And I told him I'm living in the garage.
Mhm.
He has family out in New York. You know what I'm saying? And one of the hardest things that I seen and I didn't respect, if my kid had told me they were sleeping on the street or living in a garage, even if I was out there visiting, even if it was one day, I would have paid for a hotel or something.
Yeah, for
You know
sure.
what I'm saying? He didn't ask no family member to like nothing. He just took me back to the garage, brought me a sandwich, and took me back to the garage. And from that moment, I
That's
just
it.
lost all respect for him. Like
That's it.
I could never do that to my child. You know what I'm saying? And I literally lost all respect for him. Like I didn't care to speak to him, no nothing. I actually was like, I actually blocked him. It's not like he was calling anyway, but I actually blocked him. And then he did start reaching out to me again.
Again.
Okay. And he start reaching out. He's living in Florida. He start reaching out to me again and stuff. And when he did do that, I was on my feet a little something and stuff. And I was like, "Hey, I want to buy a car." I told him I wanted to buy a car. And I said, one of the things that I need help with. And he was like, "Let me know how I can help you." I said, "Hey, can you just put my insurance under your name? Like, get my car registered because it's a lot cheaper." And I said, "And I'll pay your insurance for you." So here I am paying his insurance and everything. And one day I was stopped at a red light, a car hits me in the back. Boom. When a car hits me in the back, of course, it's their fault automatically. I was supposed to receive a check for $2,500. Okay. I've been calling them. I called them. And I was like, "Hey, they sent you the check." He said, "Yeah." And I said, "All right, can you send it to me?" So he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna send it right now." So I go down to the Western Union because that's how he was sending it to me during that time. And I'm like, "Hey, I'm here to pick up a check." I'm all excited because I'm about to get my
Yeah.
car fixed and stuff. Boom. And they like, well, ma'am, that is not the amount. Are you sure that's the amount? I said, yep, $2,500 is the amount. And they like, nah, that's not the amount. And I'm like, no, it's the amount. That's the only amount it could be. So the lady tells me the amount that he sent was $200.
$200.
$200. So I'm calling him. He is not answering the phone.
Nah, he
I
ain't.
finally decided to use a friend's phone that had a Florida number. He answered that phone. Okay. And I'm like, yo, what's up, dad? Where's the money? I need the money. Like, I'm riding around with no bumper on and stuff. My reinforcement is off. Like, I need that money. Like, that's the only thing I have. Like, you know what I'm saying? And he told me he spent the money. Now, he told me he spent the money because the hurricane that happened in Haiti, and he sent the money there, which I knew was a lie. But it just reminded me of even when I was a kid, like I used to give him money to hold that the only money or the only thing about that my mom did give us when she did come around. I used to give him money to hold. And when I would ask him for it, he'll be like, I don't have it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, as a kid, it's okay because I don't really need the money for anything in particular, but toys and stuff. But as an adult, that hurts because here I am struggling and stuff like that.
On
You
the
don't kick me
insurance that you're
out.
paying
The one
for.
thing I asked you to do and the insurance that I'm paying for, and
Right.
then that's what you do, and then you take me off the insurance.
What?
So that's when I really was like, when he told me that, I just hung up on him. And I was like, no, I'm like, to me, in my mind, I was truly done with him and stuff, even to the point where like I got a phone call and they told me, my dad had a stroke, and it's like I felt empty inside. Like I didn't know how to feel. It's like,
Right.
okay, I'm not gonna go. I did
Well,
never went visited him, no nothing, because it's
I mean,
like
he had betrayed you so many times. I mean, it's like you gave him a chance, and every single time it's just like the knife goes in even deeper into the back.
hmm hmm So it was like it. I didn't bother to even think about it. You know what I'm saying? It was like at this point he done put me through so much, and I felt like my life could have been a whole lot better. But it's like at this point of my where I'm at now is like, okay, I don't think like that because I feel like everything that I went through is what made me who I am today. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And okay, so time went by and stuff like that. And another moment I could remember is like his 50th birthday party. Okay, so we would celebrate. Was it his 50th or 60th? I'm gonna go ahead and say his 50th. Okay, we went to celebrate his 50th. My brother and them threw him a 50th birthday party. What's up, Jigga? My brother and them threw him a 50th birthday party, and when they threw him a 50th birthday party, all of my brothers was giving speeches, and my two younger brothers were able to say all these dope
Oh
things
yeah,
about
of
him,
course. Yeah, he's been a great guy.
because they was raised by him, so they all saying these elaborate speeches and stuff. And then I watch my older brother give a speech, and then they try to pass me the mic, and I'm like, oh heck nah, y'all got me effed up. If y'all think I was like, happy birthday. I literally looked at that mic, I looked at him, I said happy birthday, and I pushed the mic away. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like you're not like you weren't a father to me. You were a father to them. But
Right.
even they feel like he wasn't a father. You know what I'm saying? My greatest one of the reasons why I became a photographer is because of those memories. You know what I'm saying? And the only thing I have that that shows those great memories is images, is pictures. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah.
that's it. So that's one of the reasons of why I was inspired to be like a photographer and stuff, and the stage that he is now is like after he had his stroke and stuff, he then turned his life over to God. Now I'm telling you, I was raised in the church, okay, but he's never one. I can only recall him one time coming to church with me.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm the only one in my family that actively went to church every Sunday. Okay, but after his stroke he then decided like to start turn his life over. He started going to church. They told my father he would never be able to walk again, he'll never be able to talk again, and guess what, he is walking and talking and still driving cab. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
And not too long ago, I want to say about maybe I want to say about three years ago, he called me, and now his opinion on my sexuality is completely different. Everything has changed since then. You know what I'm saying? And I remember like 3 4 years ago he called me on the phone and he was crying, and then when he was crying, I'm like, hey, what's up? Like, even now, I don't know how to hold conversations with him because I still think of the hurt and the pain
Right.
that he brought me through. Even though try to, I forgave, but I still think of that. It still sits in my mind, And one of the things he called me and said, and he was like, he called me and apologized. Now I didn't know why he kicked me out, but I did ask him. Well, like when he called and apologized, he was like, "I'm sorry for like kicking you out. I'm sorry for everything I did and stuff like that. I know I haven't been the best dad to you and stuff." And he was like, "And I regret it now and stuff like that because now I don't have any of you guys." And stuff. And it did cause me to ask him. I said, well, why did you allow her to kick me out? And he said, because he didn't know how to handle my sexuality.
Wow.
You
And
know what I'm
you would,
saying? So
yeah.
when he apologized, I said nothing to him. Like, it's not like I said, I forgive you or anything. But it's like, even now, like once in the blue moon, he'll call, I'll answer, and I'll be like, I'm just busy. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know how to fake stuff. I
Right.
can forgive you, but it's like, we're not going to be the best of father and daughter duel. You know what I'm saying? It's that's not in the cards for me.
And what Jobez said, I like that, is that forgiveness does not necessarily mean that you trust that person, or that you're, like you said, that y'all are going to be best buds, like, that close father daughter relationship. That's about releasing that negative from yourself so that you role can live your best life. So you've obviously, you're very successful at what you do. I know you have a clothing line, you're a photographer, you're obviously a very successful live streamer. Has that been able to give you a little bit more, has your success been able to give you a little bit more perspective in terms of how you can kind of relate to your father and address it now, or is the hurt just so kind of looming that it just kind of is what it is?
Um, relate to him, but I do know he's remorseful, and that's one of the things that I am proud of. You know what I'm saying? That he is remorseful, and he does recognize, because one of the things, even as a kid, that he struggled with is apologies. He never apologized. If he whipped us for something we didn't do, the man would literally buy us McDonald's or buy us off. He will not apologize. So the fact that he did apologize was big, and kind of went I'm not gonna say a long way, but it went a short way with me. And then it's like, like even till this day, like, when I would go out there, I would go and visit him. you know I've even recently, like, I even recently, like during my I had surgery recently, and like, I would call him, and he'll, like, he supported me through that whole thing, through the whole process of that too. And I don't know. I will visit him, but I can't stay long periods with him and
Right.
stuff. And the reason why is because he knows how to say like dumbness that I don't like. He'll bring up people that I don't speak to. You know what I'm saying? So for an example, like my mom, I don't have a relationship with my mom because she was never around. So, and I always felt like she don't care, which she doesn't care. You know what I'm saying? Hence the reason why I was taken from her. Okay. The only person she cared about was my brother, because on my mom's side I have 8 sisters and he's the only boy.
Oh, wow.
Okay. And on my dad's side I have 4 brothers and I'm the only girl.
Right.
Okay, so I didn't grow up with that side, and the only reason why she would reach out, and when she did reach out, it was like she was showing favoritism, was that would be the reason why,
So when you think about kind of where you're at now as opposed to kind of where you were at 10, 15 years ago, how can you say your life is different one way or the other because of your ability to forgive your dad?
My life is different because of God. When I was 17, when all of that happened to me, I put God first. And I made a promise to him that one of the things I promise is that I'll never fight over money with anyone. You know what I'm saying? I would never argue over money, because I seen money. There was a money situation through that whole thing that played a big issue too. And that's one of the reasons why I don't talk to my brother. That's someone else that I'm still working on forgiving, guys, but that's a whole different story. Okay. But when it came down to him, it's like that's something that's hard. Even with my brother, it's hard to forgive him. You know what I'm saying? And that's because I have custody of his daughter now. I had to adopt his daughter, and he was just someone that was never appreciative. but that's a whole different
Yeah.
story. So, but it's like, it's just family. It's sometimes it's like what's crazy is sometimes like you guys are. It's like you can find your friends to be more family than your actual relatives and
No,
stuff. And that's what I found in my life. Like people that what I was really close to are like more of my family than my actual family is.
right. Um, I know we're kind of running out of time, but I do want to ask this question. I ask this question to all my guests. If someone was listening to your story right now and they're thinking, I hear what you're saying. I'm glad that you're able to forgive him, but he doesn't deserve, your dad does not deserve your forgiveness.
Mhm.
What would you say to someone who would make that point?
I would say you don't know my God. I would tell them, listen, when you build a relationship with God, everyone is deserving of forgiveness. You know what I'm saying? But when you do forgive, it doesn't mean you have to hang with them and
Sure.
party with them. You can forgive and stuff. You're not gonna forget, but you can forgive, and you're not forgiving for them. You're forgiving for yourself.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And that's the number one thing I would tell someone. I didn't forgive him for him. I forgave for myself because it's a lot more pain to hold on to someone, to be angry at someone and stuff like that. And it's so much easier to just release it.
Right.
And I felt so much better when I released it. Honestly, when I released it, I felt like there was a shift in my atmosphere, where everything that I wanted, where everything my heart desired, though it was being brought to life.
it's empowering and it's
Everything that I was meant to be was already blooming.
it's empowering and it's freeing for sure. And like I said earlier in the show, just because you forgive someone, that like doesn't mean they're going to be an active role in your life, no pun intended. But and just because you want to see someone eat doesn't mean you want them at your dinner table,
Right.
um, so before we let you go, I'm sure. I mean, your story is very unique. I mean, I think it's a testimony to just like how strong you are, and I think everyone who knows your role knows how strong you are. Like when you mentioned the competitive thing earlier, I'm like, yeah, I've seen that in a few verses before. I think a lot of your success. I mean, we can see through like all the things that you have had to overcome, and I think it's a real testimony to your spirit. But if someone may be going through somewhat of a similar thing, and they haven't been able to get where you are and live their best life after going through such kind of hardship, what would be your advice to someone maybe going through something similar?
I would tell them to build a relationship with God. Put God first, man. Listen, whether things is going bad in your life, whether things are going great in your life, always make God the head and not the tail. Okay. Remember, your problems is not your problems. This is all God's issue. So no matter what is being thrown at me and stuff like that, I've already given it to God, and I already know He is working on it, and it's going to get harder. And one of the things I do know is the people that have it the hardest, the longer you go through it, is God is only building you up to be strong. And that's why you're going through it. That's why it has to get worse. Yeah, you actually want it to get worse. Okay. Because sometimes when you're going through things, you want it to get worse because that's the stronger He's making you. The more hurtful it is, the harder it is the stronger it's this you're becoming the best version of yourself, the strongest version of yourself, just as long as you're releasing it the correct way. And releasing it the correct way is saying, hey God, take care of this for me.
Yeah, they say that God gives his toughest battles to his strongest warriors, and sometimes I'm like, all right, God, I don't really don't want to fight no more, but I feel you, like leaving that in his hands. I completely agree with you on that one. Is there anything else before we let you go that you'd like to say that about your story and or about forgiveness and healing that you think could benefit our audience?
Yeah, like forgiveness, forgiveness is a process. And I think more miserable said it best. It's a process. You know what I'm saying? It's not going to happen overnight, but it starts with forgiving yourself. Okay. And it also starts with just forgiving that person, not for that person, but for you. And if you are a believer in God, it's for him too. You know what I'm saying? And he sees it. He sees even the little steps that you're taking, and it's rewarding. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely rewarding. So guys, if you're holding on to something and stuff, and I do believe that some of us is still going through it. So I'm not telling you to forgive right now, but in due time, if we all have our moments, in due time, when you find it right for yourself, forgive.
When I say it every, almost every week on the show, you may not be able to be in a position where you can forgive right now, and that's okay. That doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you, but taking a step in that direction is ultimately going to be the greatest thing you can do to achieve your own freedom and you achieve your own healing. So, like you said, it's a process, and it's one that we can take steps towards, even if it's not one we can basically dive into right now. Roll, thank you so much for agreeing to be on the show and sharing that with me. I think I speak for everyone. If you're
Please.
like one of the 2 or 3 people on the app that don't have her favorited yet, make sure to take this opportunity to do it now. Thank you so much, Roll. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, More Miserable, for having me on the show.
Absolutely. It was a blessing. Thank you.
Thank you.
And y'all make sure to tune into her show tomorrow. She's got a show at 10 tomorrow. So y'all make sure to tune into Acting Out. Who knows? I might just make an appearance. You never know. More has been known to jump in that show from time to time. Guys, this is Forgiveness Culture. Every single week we have guests on the show who talk about the healing power of forgiveness and the healing and the peace that can be found by letting go of the toxicity and the hatred and the resentment that binds us all. If you're interested on being on the show, please hit me up on Instagram. All you got to do is follow me by clicking my bio. The link is located inside of my bio. And follow me on Instagram just for the content, guys. Next week, we have another amazing guest, an up-and-coming streamer on this app. Her name is Uma B. I don't know if you guys know Uma B, but Uma B is going to be on the show next week, and she's going to be sharing a story of forgiveness with us as well. And she talks a lot on her show about forgiveness and good mental energy. She does something with spiritual. I don't know. I've only been to her stream once, forgive me, but she does some spiritual stuff on her show. She's really excited to share it with us. She told me a little bit about it, and she's going to talk about it next week. So thank you to all. I want to give a big shout out to my top 3 gifters. Number 1, Jay, thank you. I'm a weenie. Chris Casper, all coming in with over 1,000 on the stream. Y'all taking me to 6 figures for the week. Thank you. Thank you for helping me keep my badge. I'll try to keep, and Bipolar Kitty, thank you. I'm trying to hold on to my top badge at least until playlist, guys. I'm trying to hold on to my badge at least until playlist. I don't know what happens after that, but we'll see how long I can hold on here, guys. But anyways, that's not the focus of this show. We're going to be back next week, guys. I will be streaming a little bit later this week. I do apologize that I have not been on the app as much frequently. Y'all keep in mind, I have a full-time job. I'm in grad school full-time. I'm a full-time streamer, and I'm a doggy dad. And I try to pretend at least that I have somewhat of a social life, but that's, like I said, that's mostly just pretend. But anyways, I will be back later on this week. And of course, I'll be back next week. I always stream on Monday. So until next time, guys, remember, it costs nothing to be nice and it's free to be kind. So treat other people with love and make the world a better place. And if you can't make the world a better place, at least don't make it worse. Bye.